Leonid Ivashov toimi vuosien 1996 ja 2001 välillä Venäjän sotilaallisen yhteistyön osaston päällikkönä Venäjän puolustusministeriössä. Ja Venäjän geopoliittisten ongelmien instituutin presidentti hän oli vuodesta 2004 vuoteen 2014. Vuonna 2011 hän pyrki osallistumaan Venäjän presidentinvaaleihin, mutta häntä ei päästetty ehdokkaaksi. 2022 hän kritisoi Putinia hyökkäyksestä Ukrainaan ja vaati Putinia eroamaan. Hän on sanonut, että Venäjän suurin uhka ei ole NATO tai länsi, vaan, lainaten häntä, Venäjän valtion mallin toimimattomuus, valta- ja hallintojärjestelmän täydellinen kyvyttömyys ja ammattitaidottomuus, yhteiskunnan passiivisuus ja epäjärjestys. Stephen Greerin haastatteluarkistoista hänellä on sanottavaa myös maan ulkopuolisista sivilisaatioista sekä Yhdysvaltojen syvävaltion salaisista toimista.
Поэтому сегодня нужно космосом заниматься серьезно всему человечеству, всей элите. И тем более не выводить оружие в космос, не создавать оружие, которое было создано в результате реализации программы «Звездных войн», а это оружие климатическое, это оружие информационно-психологическое, когда через космос поражают миллиарды людей, меняют сознание людей. Это оружие, которое способно выключать все программы жизнедеятельности. Так вот, сегодня американцы пытаются создать еще более убийственное оружие и из космоса влиять на все процессы на планете Земля. Это и литосферное оружие, это и всякого рода инфекции, вирусы и так далее и тому подобное. Поэтому мы сегодня, все земляне, должны категорически выступить против, проводить совместные международные исследования, а не закрываться в рамках программ особого доступа, что не американское государство, не президент и не Конгресс осуществляют эти тайные программы, а именно люди, которые находятся в тени. То, что Дональд Трамп, президент Трамп, называл глубинным государством. Это люди, несущие зло человечеству, люди, выступающие за уничтожение более 6 миллиардов населения планеты. И при этом нужно иметь еще в виду, да, наверняка инопланетяне в той или иной форме и в том или ином образе присутствуют на планете Земля. Потому что из миллиардов галактик, по теории даже вероятности, не может организованная разумная жизнь существовать только на планете Земля. Но пока инопланетяне своим присутствием не нанесли никакого ущерба землянам, инфраструктуре и вообще живым организмам на Земле. Поэтому говорить о том, что есть инопланетная угроза, это, наверное, не соответствует реальности. И если иные инопланетные цивилизации имеют контакты с Землей, то они более нас развиты и образованы, и они понимают, что в любой живой системе, тем более в системе Вселенной, в системе инопланетных цивилизаций, нельзя наносить ущерб другому элементу этой жизни, не разрушая эту систему в целом. Поэтому, пожалуйста, ученые России, да я полагаю всего мира, готовы обсуждать вот проблему инопланетного присутствия.
Kanadan entinen ulkoministeri Paul Haley on myös vakuuttunut toisten sivilisaatioiden vaikuttavan maassa.
And he believes that life forms from space exist and are present on Earth. It's great to have you with us on our show. Why do you say that UFOs are as real as the airplanes flying over our heads?
Well, because I know that they are. They've been, as a matter of fact, they've been visiting our planet for thousands of years. And one of the cases that would interest you most, if you give me 2 or 3 minutes to answer, is during the Cold War, 1961, there were about 50 UFOs in formation flying south from Russia to across Europe. And the Supreme Allied Commander was very concerned and about ready to press the panic button when they turned around and went back over the North Pole. So we have a long history of UFOs, and of course there's been a lot more activity in the last few decades since we invented the atomic bomb, and they're very concerned about that and the fact that we might use it again. And because the whole cosmos is a unity, and it affects not just us but other people in the cosmos, they're very much afraid that we might be stupid enough to start using atomic weapons again, and this would be very bad for us and for them as well.
How long has this been going on?
Sir, decades, and there's information that will hopefully be entered into the record.
Can you think of any possible reason why they can't release any information they have on something, say, 15 or 20 years old?
Sir, if I can...
Nyt Yhdysvalloissa käynnistynyt ufotutkinta on täynnä tietoa ja disinformaatiota. Kuten Heller epäilee, teknologia halussa pitävä kabal yrittää todennäköisesti sekoittaa pakkaa.
Yes, sir. There's definitely enough data to suggest that there is certainly some sort of relationship between sensitive U.S. military installations, also some of our nuclear equities, and also some of our Department of Energy sites.
Paul Haley on myös vakuuttunut, että UFO-teknologia halussaan pitävä hallituksien ulkopuolinen kabal pyrkii luomaan sivilisaatiosta uhan, jolla luoda fasistinen globaali maailmanjärjestys.
I think it's part of the game. They're not telling us the whole truth. They're telling us selected truths. They're telling us convenient truths, just enough to say to us there is a problem and we need more money to build more ships to cope with the problem.
What is that problem?
Well, the problem is an imaginary one that they're conning us with, and that is that we have something to fear from the extraterrestrials, when in fact they are the problem. The cabal that is running the United States and has been for decades and running much of the world has plans for what they call a new world order, which sounds like utopia, but when you get through the fog, it is what they intend to do is a world government, unelected, a fascist government of, by, and for them, at the expense of all of the rest of the people. And that's what they're having up their sleeves, in my opinion. And so I think their disclosure and why they would start with something so contemporary instead of going back to the beginning. Well, I was going to say I don't know, but I do know, because they want us to think that some of this stuff is new, and that they haven't known about it for decades and decades before, and that they haven't reacted to it already. So I think it's part of the con job.
While we like to speak of the government as the government, it is not one big cohesive machine that works together. And so
Viime aikoina ja viime vuosikymmeninä monia armeijan edustajia on kertonut muiden sivilisaatioiden olevan erityisen huolissaan ydinaseista ja että he ovat useaan otteeseen estäneet niiden käytön.
During that period of time, one of my functions was to accompany a security team which visited all of the nuclear facilities to check on the security of weapons. And we were getting reports of visits by UFOs over the storage facilities and even some of the manufacturing facilities. And that went on continuously. Now, we found that the reports, the formal reports, were few and far between, but the security people were reluctant to report many of them because the protocol and the bureaucracy involved in reporting them, they just avoided reporting. This was during the 50s to the entire 50s. Then I was assigned to the Unified Pacific Command under Admiral Felt during the 60s, and I was the officer in charge of the alternate command post involved in nuclear weapon operation planning. And during that period of time, I was maintained contacts with NORAD, with the SAC operations, and involved in the single integrated operational plans for the use of nuclear weapons. And during this period of time, I also learned of a number of incidents which happened. And then further on, I finally retired from the Air Force and joined the Boeing Company, where I was assigned to the Minuteman program, where I was responsible for the configuration accounting of all the nuclear fleet of Minuteman 1, 2, and 3. And during that period of time, I also learned about incidents involving nuclear weapons. And among these incidents were a couple of nuclear weapons sent into space were destroyed by the extraterrestrials. In talking to various contacts throughout, they would allude to the fact that these did happen. There was, for example, the missile, Minuteman missile, which destroyed the launch from Vandenberg Air Force Base. That's now a public matter of record.
It was definitely in 1964. They counted down the missile. We heard engine ignition, liftoff. We knew the missile was underway. And we were looking down southwest, and the missile popped up through the fog. It was just beautiful. And I hollered, "There it is!" And our guys on our M45 tracking mount with 180-inch lenses on it got it. We watched that stage burn out. We watched the second stage burn out. We watched the third stage burn out. And into the frame came something else. It flew into the frame like this, and it shot a beam of light at the warhead, which is represented by my thumb here. Now, remember, all this stuff is flying at several thousand miles an hour. So this thing fires a beam of light at the warhead, hits it, and then this thing flies up like this. Meanwhile, we're all going like this, fires another beam of light, goes around like this, we're going like this, fires another beam of light, goes down like this, fires another beam of light, and then flies out the way it came in. And the warhead tumbles out of space. Now, I saw that. I don't give a goddamn what anybody else says about it. I saw that on film. Phil Klass can kiss my ass. He wasn't there. I was. Now, when the lights came on, Major Mansman turned around and looked at me and said, "Were you guys screwing around up there?" And I said, "No, sir." And he said, "What was that?" And I said, "It looks to me like we got a UFO." Now, the thing that we saw, this object that flew in, was circular, was shaped like two saucers cupped like this with a ping pong ball on top. The beam of light came out of the ping pong ball.
Samanlaista viestiä ovat kertoneet myös sivilisaatiot itse, monin eri tavoin.
All right, I'll say, how are you this day of your time as you create time to exist?
Welcome, sir.
And to you we extend our deepest appreciation for your willingness to co-create as individuals and a collectivity of consciousness this interaction this day of your time to facilitate the merger and the blending not only of all the members of your society but of your society with other societies at this time in your transformational age.
Tässä Daryl Ankan kanavoima Bashar esiintyi 80-luvulla televisio-ohjelmassa Inward Bound.
Bashar, welcome to Inward Bound.
If you would talk a little bit on a national scale about our conflict with Russia and our fear and misunderstanding of them and about nuclear possibilities.
The idea, simply put once again, is that as the representative polarity powers upon your world, or what you call power upon your world, you are, for each other, the thing that each other fears the most within itself. You are the polarized reflections of those things that each side fears to contain. This is why the blending together from your hearts from your desires, from your mind, will allow you to become the one society that will contain all of what you might call the best aspects of all the nations, all the cultures within your world. Recognize that it is only the fear about facing the things within yourself that allows you to project that fear upon each other and then generate circumstances and scenarios that lead you to think you are going to wipe each other out. Now, this may be true on certain levels, but the idea now that we can and are allowed to share with your world is that your world will not destroy itself by nuclear annihilation. You, as a society, even if it is a collective unconscious recognition, have already decided that you are not going to destroy yourselves by nuclear annihilation. You may still be posturing. You may still meet many accelerations of violence upon the surface of your world, but in a sense you are now bringing all these things and getting them out of your system up to the surface, letting them be open, so that each and every one of you at this time can decide, is this how we want our world to be? Or do we prefer it to be another way? Recognize also at this time, and we can tell you this now only because you have already as a society decided that you will not destroy yourselves through nuclear means. It is your world. You may do with it as you wish. We cannot interfere. That would be contrary to our belief systems. However, you are therefore allowed to do what you will with your world. You may even utterly destroy it if you wish, but not through a methodology that will affect more than your own world. Nuclear annihilation would tear through the dimensional fabrics of space and time and affect many of the alternate parallel universes to which you are attached. And therefore, as your government is actually already well aware of, your world would never have been allowed to wage nuclear war. And your government has been given many demonstrations over the course of various years that the different societies in the association of worlds of which we are a part would in this way simply create an ineffective operation of your war machinery should it have come down to the point where you decided to activate that idea. These demonstrations have been given, and your governments are very well aware of our existence and know beyond a shadow of a doubt that nuclear war is not now in your future. We can tell you this now because you have already yourselves decided not to wage that war. It would not be in anyone's interest at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you.